When I collapsed, my son didn't show what my daughter-in-law revealed changed everything forever. Jack Larson had always been the Rock of Maplewood. At 60, a Vietnam veteran and small business owner, his presence alone could ward off the fiercest storms. But as the sun shone brightly over the annual town fair, a celebration meant to honor local heroes, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Maybe it was the heat or the weight of expectations pressing down on him. The familiar faces of friends and neighbors blurred as he felt a swoon, the vibrant colors of the fair transforming into a dull haze. When he collapsed, a wave of gasps echoed around him, puncturing the festive atmosphere. Amidst the chaos, his son Tom remained seated at his corporate desk in a glass tower, juggling spreadsheets and urgent emails, entangled in a web of ambition far removed from the warm embrace of family. Tom had long since traded family gatherings for business meetings, chasing a corporate dream that seemed to draw him further away from home. When he heard the news, an icy knot formed in his stomach, yet he was paralyzed, caught in the gravitational pull of his responsibilities. In the stark, sterile confines of the hospital room, Jack began to recuperate. The jolting beeping of machines was met with the tender touch of his daughter-in-law, Sarah. With her warmth and fierce determination, she stepped up in ways he never expected. "Jack needs you, Tom," she said firmly over the phone. "You can't keep running from this." Those words weighed on Tom's heart, igniting anger at himself for putting work before family. Sarah didn't hold back. She pushed him to see the man who had sacrificed so much for him, the father who had stood steadfast while the world changed around them. Whenever Jack drifted into consciousness, his thoughts were a whirlwind of memories: his days in Vietnam, the friends he lost, the struggle to build a business in a town slowly fading away. Meanwhile, those feelings of guilt were heavy on Tom's mind, gnawing at him like a relentless echo. It wasn't just about neglecting a sick father, it was about a love he had taken for granted, a love that deserved to be honored. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. Days passed, and as Sarah cleaned out Jack's garage, a hidden box caught her eye, a treasure trove of the past, filled with photos and letters that spoke of bravery and kindness. Each snapshot held a story, each letter, a testament of sacrifice. She brought them to the hospital, her heart racing. The room filled with the scent of nostalgia and hope. There were images of young Jack, laughter echoing under the moonlight, letters to his family that dripped with love. She shared every story, breathing new life into the room. When Tom finally stood in front of Jack, the walls of tension between them felt almost tangible, thick with unspoken truths. Jack lay there, frail but fierce, ready to bridge the gap with his son. Just as they prepared to confront the unacknowledged hurt between them, Sarah's revelation splashed into the air, a story from her own past that threw everything into disarray, shaping their family ties into more than they had ever anticipated. Now, the very fabric of their connections was ready to unravel. Would Tom embrace the legacy of love in front of him, or would he slip away once more? The nursing station fell silent, waiting for the father and son to take the leap that could change everything. Tom stood frozen at the foot of Jack's hospital bed, an uncomfortable knot twisting in his stomach as Sarah's revelation hung in the air, a tangle of history and emotion that threatened to pull him under. "Jack's not just your father," Sarah's voice trembled slightly, her eyes shimmering with a mix of determination and vulnerability. "He is also my father-in-law in ways you never understood. I didn't just marry into this family, I was embraced by it." The truth of her words hit Tom hard. His mind raced back to the times he'd taken Jack for granted, dismissing his presence as a fixture in his life rather than the foundation it truly was. "What do you mean?" Tom managed to ask. Beneath the weight of his own guilt, he felt a flicker of indignation. Did she know something he didn't? "Jack was my rock, long before I started calling him Dad," Sarah said, taking a breath. When my own father left, it was Jack who stepped in. He became a refuge, a man to look up to when I had no guidance. None of this means I don't love you, but you need to understand, he filled a void for me too. Tom's heartbeat quickened as her words sunk in. The divided loyalties. Could it be that Jack's love shaped Sarah just as it did him? He turned to look at his father, whose eyes flickered open, the faintest hint of recognition shining through. Jack's expression was soft, yet his gaze was penetrating as if he could sense this critical moment. There was a pause. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving just the three of them suspended in a bubble of shared pain and love. Tom clenched his fists, thoughts colliding like fireworks. He had spent years building his career, but was it worth overshadowing the relationships that truly mattered? Tom, Jack croaked, his voice a raspy whisper, yet it held the weight of his love. I've had my struggles. Not just in Vietnam, but here at home. You were never a burden, you were my pride. But I see you pulling away, and it breaks my heart. Please, don't take this time for granted. It felt like a punch to the gut. Tom stepped closer, a flood of regret washing over him. The anger he felt toward himself mingled with a longing to bridge the gap he created. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't realize I thought I was doing what you wanted. But I see now I've only been chasing something that feels empty. Jack nodded slowly, his eyes misting over. It's never too late to come back, son. Family has a way of healing what's broken. Tears sprung to Tom's eyes, not just for his dad but for Sarah too, who had stood by them both, fighting for a connection he had abandoned. But just as they shared this moment, the rise of hope began to overshadow the lingering tension that had built over the years. The bright beeping of the heart monitor softened to a rhythm that echoed the steadiness Tom craved. He felt the pull of something unfamiliar, a will to understand, to forgive, to mend, yet before he could voice his newfound resolve, a nurse burst into the room, urgency painted across her face. Mr. Larson. We need you to step outside. There's been an incident, and we need to discuss your father's medical care. Tom's heart leapt into his throat. What do you mean? Please, just follow me, she insisted, her tone brokering no argument. As he turned to Sarah and Jack, emotions clashed. Hope and fear melded into a dizzying rush. Steward away, Tom felt the ground shift beneath his feet. What new challenge awaited him just outside those hospital doors? With dread inching closer, Tom stepped out, the weight of their unfinished conversation still fresh in his mind. What news could change everything again? Tom followed the nurse down the fluorescent-lit corridor, each step feeling heavier than the last. The whir of medical equipment and the hushed voices of staff created a dissonant soundtrack to his racing thoughts. What had happened? What incident could possibly require his immediate attention? The nurse finally stopped at a small consultation room, her expression shifting from urgency to concern. Mr. Larson, please have a seat, she said, her voice softer now. Tom felt a shiver run down his spine, a silent warning that the news wouldn't be good. That he perched on the edge of a stiff chair while the nurse pulled a clipboard from under her arm and took a breath. There was a complication during your father's treatment. His heart rate dropped significantly, and we had to stabilize him. We're doing everything we can, but what? Tom's voice wavered, a swell of emotions rising within him. He clenched his fists, willing the tension to dissipate, but it only intensified. There's a chance he may not recover fully. We need to discuss what kind of care he should receive moving forward. It's important to consider his wishes. Her words trailed off as she eyed Tom, gauging his reaction. The room spun. Tom felt a wave of panic clawing at him. Just when they had finally started to reconnect, the universe was threatening to take it all away. His wishes? He echoed, his heart thundering. You mean end-of-life care? The nurse nodded, a pained expression on her face. I know this is an overwhelming moment. If you need to discuss this with your family. Tom stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. No. I don't want to discuss that here. I want to see him. He pushed past her, barely registering her protests as he stormed back to Jack's room. His mind was a whirlwind of doubt and fear. The thought of losing Jack his father felt like the ground falling beneath him. As he entered, he found Sarah still sitting by the bed, holding Jack's hand. She looked up, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Tom, I just heard. What do we do?" He blurted, desperation spilling from his lips. "We can't just let him go like this. We need to fight for him." "I know," she replied softly. There was a strength in her voice that both reassured and frustrated him. "But we also have to be realistic. We can't force him if he's in pain." Tom's breathing quickened. "But we just started to understand each other. I can't lose him now, not after everything." Sarah stood, carrying an urgency in her stance that mirrored his. "And we won but we have to be united in this, Tom. If there's a chance to save him, we need to be brave together." Her words struck a chord, igniting a flicker of hope. What if they could truly fight for Jack's life? What if Jack could wake up and they could clear the air? But just as Tom reached his breaking point, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor changed. A loud alarm blared, disrupting the fragile moment they shared. The nurse rushed in, followed by doctors, their voices a cacophony of urgent commands. "Get a crash cart," one shouted. "Code blue in room 302. Tom felt his legs turn to jelly. They were losing him, and the strength he'd felt moments ago drained away as uncertainty flooded in. He watched the chaos unfold, terrified yet unable to pull himself away from the scene. In that frantic moment, Jack was their center, and they were all spiraling around him, fighting for a chance that felt out of reach. As the medical team moved with precision, Tom squeezed Sarah's hand tightly, their shared fear electrifying the space between them. They needed to face this together. Nothing else mattered. "Whatever happens next, we hold on to each other," he whispered, fear coursing through him, but just then, a voice broke through the turmoil, echoing with unexpected clarity. "If I make it out, I want to finally talk about what this family means. All of it." Tom froze, a chill sliding down his spine. Who had said that? Was it possible? What did the future hold for them all if Jack came back? The question lingered, swirling in uncertainty. Tom's heart raced as the echo of Jack's voice resonated in the air. Was it a hallucination, a desperate wish filtered through the chaos of his fear? He glanced over at Sarah, who had halted, her face a mix of disbelief and hope. "Did you hear that?" he asked, breathless. She nodded slowly, her eyes widening. "I did. I think he's fighting, Tom. He's still with us." The medical team surged around Jack, their focused movements a blur. Machines beeped and whirred, an orchestrated chaos that tugged at Tom's heart. He could feel uncertainty gnawing at him, threatening to devour him whole. In the midst of all this anxiety, he saw a nurse step back momentarily, eyeing the heart monitor with a furrowed brow. Tom felt a surge of anger at the thought of anyone doubting Jack's will to fight. How could they think of accepting what felt so wrong? "Let us not give up yet," Tom said, his voice steadier than he felt. He turned to Sarah, who was clutching Jack's hand, tears sliding down her cheeks. "We have to keep believing." And then they placed the paddles on Jack's chest. Clear. The command rang out, and a surge of electricity jolted through his father's body. The monitor beeped once, hesitated, and then kicked back into a frantic rhythm, as if Jack's heart had hesitated, then fought back against the tide of darkness. "Come on, Dad," Tom whispered, leaning closer. "You can't leave us. We have so much to work through. We need to talk about everything, remember? Our family, it matters." Sarah's grip tightened, and for a moment, they seemed to align in a collective breath, drawing strength from their shared resolve. Yet beneath their hope lingered a gnawing dread, a fear of the unknown and what lay ahead. "Focus on the good times," Sarah murmured, looking down at Jack's pale face. "Remember those camping trips? The barbecues in the backyard?" A flicker of a smile twitched at the corners of her lips, and Tom found himself mirroring it, even as tears pooled in his eyes. He thought of the laughter, the stupid arguments over who always stole the last slice of pizza, and the warmth that had once filled their home. All those moments flashed like a reel in his mind, and he couldn't help but hold on to them fiercely, but even as they tapped into their memories, the team continued its frantic pace. A doctor leaned over, shaking their head slightly. "We have to keep him stable, he's not responding as we'd like." Tom clenched his jaw. "No. They wouldn't have to say it. Things wouldn't end like this, not when there was still a chance to heal and to understand." Then, the heart rate monitor changed again, the rhythm shifting, the tone deeper and more urgent. Tom's heart sank further, and it felt as if the world was crashing down around him. "Jack, please. Fight. You can't leave us. Not now." He started to buckle, ready to crumble under the weight of everything when suddenly, he noticed something, a faint flicker in Jack's eyelids. Hope surged in him like adrenaline. "Sarah, look!" he exclaimed, barely able to contain his excitement. At that moment, the chaos around them was replaced by a profound silence, charged with a tension that could snap at any second. Tom held his breath, leaning in closer, urging Jack with every ounce of love in his heart. Just then, Jack's eyes fluttered open, revealing a flicker of recognition. "Tom, Sarah," he croaked, words barely forming but heavy with meaning. "Dad! You're back!" Tom gasped, emotions bubbling to the surface as he gripped Jack's hand tighter than ever. Jack's voice was weak, but it was there, a lifeline he thought he could never grasp again. "We need to talk, this family matters." Tom's heart ached as he watched Jack struggle, instinctively sensing the weight of those words. The implications were profound and terrifying, a call to face a past too complex to navigate in this moment. As the doctor moved in to check the vitals, Tom felt the room shift, like a box of secrets just opened. There was so much to uncover, and yet the sharks in the water were circling back. Just then, Tom's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, a knot forming in his stomach as he glanced at the screen. The message was from a number he didn't recognize, but the name sent ice through his veins. "Tom, we need to discuss what happened with Jack. It's critical. Please call me." Tom's mouth went dry. What else was waiting in the shadows? He couldn't lose this chance. But what other revelations lay ahead, waiting to shake the very foundation of their family? Tom's fingers trembled as he stared at the message, his mind racing. What could they possibly want? He thought, anxiety clawing at his chest. Was this about Jack? Had someone known something he didn't? He pressed on the screen, his heart pounding as he read and reread each word. "Tom," Jack whispered again, his voice frail but urgent, don't ignore it." Tom felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Here was his father, fighting to breathe and reclaim his place in their lives, yet there was this unknown threat lurking just out of sight. "I'll call them. But not yet." He forced a smile, trying to cover the shadows creeping into his mind. "Stay with us, Dad," he urged. "We've got a lot to figure out. I don't want to rush things. Let us just focus on you right now." Sarah shifted slightly, her tight grip still around Jack's hand. Tears brimmed in her eyes, reflecting a glimmer of hope. "We're right here. You don't have to worry about anything else." A ghost of a smile crossed Jack's lips, but as he closed his eyes again, his face contorted with pain. The medical team moved with machine-like precision, adjusting IVs and muttering medical jargon that felt miles away from Tom's world. He caught sight of the heart monitor, its beeps the tempo of their lives hanging by a thread. "Shift," a nurse called, and they moved Jack from one side to another, managing tubes and wires like mechanics working on a delicate engine. Tom felt helpless, standing there, anchored by fear and the knowledge that they were fighting against time. "Do you think he is going to be okay?" Sarah's voice broke through, trembling. "I don't know," Tom admitted softly. The truth was, the more he faced the reality of their situation, the heavier his heart became. He didn't just worry about Jack's physical state but the weight of unresolved feelings and buried conflicts that could surface any time now. Tom. Jack's voice, though weak, cut through the noise. His eyes flickered open again, locking onto Tom with a familiar intensity. "We need to talk. I need you to promise to listen." "Dad, please don't push yourself," Tom pleaded, fear tightening its grip around him. "I will fight," Jack insisted, his voice stronger now, fueled by determination. "Just promise me you'll listen. You've got to know what really happened before it's too late." The urgency in his father's eyes dispelled any doubts Tom had of the seriousness of this moment. He nodded, feeling the knot of anxiety as genuine fear began to morph into a desperate resolve. "I promise." The walls felt like they were closing in, the air thick with questions unanswered. What had Jack meant? What shadows from the past were they about to confront? Before Tom could contemplate any further, the doctor returned. "We're stabilizing him, but we need to keep a close watch. It's still very delicate. You all should prepare yourselves for what's next." A chill ran down Tom's spine. "What does that mean?" The doctor hesitated, words caught in a web of caution. "It's crucial to address everything, emotional and physical. The road ahead may reveal truths that could change things entirely." Tom glanced back at Jack, whose gaze lingered on him. "Face it together," Jack breathed, and Tom nodded resolutely. "We will." Just then, Tom's phone buzzed again. This time, it felt like a jolt straight to his core. He pulled it out, his pulse quickening once more. Another message flicked on the screen, this one darker. "Jack's fight is only the beginning. You need to understand everything before you can move forward." He felt the room spin slightly. What truth was hiding beneath the surface of their lives? What secrets had been kept from him? This was no longer just about Jack's survival, it was about facing the dark undercurrents that had shaped their family in ways he didn't yet understand. "Are you ready for this?" he whispered to himself, the question hung heavy in the air. Tom knew the next moments could unravel everything he thought he knew. With a gulp, he hit the call button. As he awaited the answer, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was coming next would change the family he thought he knew so well, for better or worse. And as always, he was trapped between hope and dread. Would they be able to heal and still stand together, or would this be the catalyst for their unraveling? Tom's heart raced as the call connected, each ring echoing like a countdown in his mind. What was he about to hear? He felt a pressure surrounding him, a blend of anticipation and dread. He thought of Jack in the hospital bed, fighting against all odds. "Hello." A voice finally broke through the static. "Hello, this is Tom," he stammered, trying to steady himself. "I received a message from this number earlier." It said. He hesitated, swallowing hard. "It mentioned my father." "Yes, Tom. It's critical that we speak. There are things you need to know about Jack, about your family." The voice was calm but carried an underlying urgency, sending chills down Tom's spine. "What do you mean? What is happening?" The pause on the other end was heavy. "The situation is complicated. Jack's life, it intertwines with choices he made long ago. It's about a debt, a serious one." "Debt?" The word shattered whatever calm he was trying to hold on to. "What kind of debt?" he demanded. "Emotional, financial. It connects to choices he made that may affect all of you now," the voice continued. Tom felt his stomach drop. "Do you know where this is coming from? Who is involved? Why didn't he tell me?" "Listen, I can't share everything right now. Not over the phone. But I need you to prepare yourself. If you don't confront this soon, it could shatter whatever fragile balance remains." Tom's mind whirled. Secrets. What could his father have hidden so deeply that it risked tearing their family apart? He thought of Sarah, holding Jack's hand, tears streaming down her face. Could she even handle this? Can you meet me? Please, he implored, urgency lacing his voice. I'll send you the details. Just remember, time is of the essence. Don't wait too long. Things are much bigger than what any of you realize. Before Tom could respond, the line went dead that he stood there, staring at the phone as if expecting it to offer more some kind of comfort or revelation. But the cold reality sank in. Whatever layers hidden in Jack's life were about to unfurl like a storm, and he wasn't sure they were ready for the chaos. Tom looked at Jack, unconscious yet still resolute. What have you done, Dad? He wondered aloud, as much to himself as to the universe. Half an hour later, after sharing quick glances of disbelief with Sarah, he found himself in the bustling cafe 2 blocks from the hospital. The air felt thick with tension, and the aroma of coffee did little to calm his nerves. When the door swung open, a figure stepped inside, scanning the room before locking eyes with him. It was a woman he'd never met before, but her posture screamed familiarity. She moved toward him with purpose, her eyes darting around as if checking for unseen dangers. Tom. She said, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, he replied, feeling the weight of her gaze and the intensity of the moment. Thank you for coming, she began, glancing around once more before leaning closer. What I have to tell you, you need to brace yourself. It's about Jack, and it'll change everything you know about your family. Tom's pulse quickened. Just tell me. But before she could speak again, the door swung open abruptly, and a familiar figure rushed in, his brother, Michael, breathless. Tom, we need to talk. It's urgent. The tension in the air thickened, every heartbeat drumming louder in Tom's ears. They were teetering on the edge of revelations that could unravel their family's very foundation. As Michael approached, Tom turned back to the woman. Wait, he said urgently. I need to know what you were going to say. Not here, she insisted, glancing back again as if sensing eyes on her. Trust me, you need to know, but it's not safe, at least, not yet. One revelation was waiting, but others loomed just out of reach. Tom felt the ground shifting beneath him. What would Michael bring into this tangled web of secrets? And would he be able to handle the truth when it finally emerged? Michael's eyes darted between Tom and the woman, his brow furrowing as he took in the tension. What is going on? He asked, voice low but urgent. Not here, Tom replied, glancing over his shoulder, noticing how people around them began to shift, eyes flickering with curiosity. It's about Dad, and it's complicated. The woman moved closer, lowering her voice. You both need to leave this cafe. I can't say what I need to in public. Her intensity was unsettling. It felt like she was carrying the weight of a mountain on her shoulders. All right, let us go, Michael decided, grabbing Tom's arm. The three of them exited the cafe, the fresh air hitting them like a splash of cold water. Tom's heart beat rapidly in his chest as they ducked into a quieter alley behind the cafe, the city noise fading into a dull murmur. Now, what is this all about? Michael pressed, crossing his arms defensively. The woman took a deep breath before speaking. I'm sorry to just drop this on you, but you need to know that Jack has been involved in some very dangerous things. His past, it's not what you think. Tom felt the air tighten around them, the world narrowing down to just the three of them. What do you mean? What kind of dangerous things? It involves people he owes money to, how he tried to protect your family from their reach. But it didn't work. They've come back, and it's about more than just money. Her gaze drilled into Tom's, desperation mingling with determination. I'm here because you need to help him. But the help has to come from you, and it has to start now. Michael shook his head, disbelief washing over him. You're telling me Dad's in trouble with loan sharks or something? More than that, she insisted, her eyes glistening with urgency. Jack's actions have set off a chain reaction. If you don't act quickly, it could endanger your family even more. There are people watching you, and they won't hesitate to make their presence felt. Tom's breath caught in his throat. What do we do? The weight of responsibility crashed over him, heavier than anything he ever felt before. Information is key. I have a contact who knows more, who can help you understand what is really going on. You need to decide if you're willing to listen. Michael hesitated, processing her words. We're not going to play games. If Dad's in trouble, we need to lay it all out on the table. Fine, she said, glancing around again, fear flickering in her eyes. But we can't discuss it here. Meet me tonight at the park by the old fountain. It's as safe a spot as we can get. Tom nodded, feeling the gravity of the moment. We'll be there. As the woman turned to leave, something stopped her. One more thing. You might think you know your father, but there are layers to him that you've never seen. Just prepare for the truth, no matter how hard it is. With that, she slipped into the shadows of the street, leaving Tom and Michael standing in the dim alley. What the hell just happened? Michael muttered, staring at the now empty space where the woman had been. I don't know, Tom replied, his voice shaky. But we have to find out. We owe it to Dad. We owe it to ourselves. As they walked away from the alley, a chill ran down Tom's spine. They were about to tiptoe into a world of hidden dangers, and he wasn't sure if they were ready for what was waiting to unfold. Can you imagine what else she might reveal? Tom's mind raced, caught between fear and determination. Would their past be the beginning of the end? The questions hung in the air as darkness fell across the city, each moment drawing them closer to the secret that lay ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow that quickly faded with the evening chill. Tom and Michael walked in silence, both deep in thought, their earlier conversation weighing heavily on their minds. The streets felt different now, their surroundings charged with an unspoken tension. What do you think she meant about Dad? Michael finally broke the silence, his voice barely more than a whisper. The worry etched on his face mirrored Tom's own fears. Is he really mixed up in something that dangerous? I don't know, Tom replied, shaking his head. Part of me wants to believe he wouldn't get involved in something like that. But what if we've been blind to it all? What if he has been hiding things from us all along? Michael ran his fingers through his hair, frustration bubbling inside him. We've got to figure this out before it's too late. If there are people watching us, I don't like where this is going. As they approached the park, the trees swayed gently, their leaves rustling like whispering ghosts. The old fountain they were supposed to meet the woman at came into view, water cascading down, shimmering softly under the faint light of a nearby lamppost. It felt surreal, like stepping into a movie where the stakes couldn't be higher. Tom's heart raced as they neared the fountain, scanning for any signs of the woman. Do you see her? He asked, the words escaping his lips faster than he intended. No, Michael replied, his eyes narrowing in concentration. Maybe we should. Before he could finish, a shadow stepped from behind the trees. It was her, the woman from the cafe. Relief washed over Tom for just a moment before his stomach twisted with anxiety. I'm glad you both came, she said, urgency lacing her voice. We don't have much time. What is going on? Michael demanded, a mix of anger and worry underlying his words. Listen closely, she urged, her eyes scanning the area again. What I'm about to tell you isn't easy to hear. Jack's death has attracted the wrong attention. These people, they don't play by the rules. What do you mean, the wrong attention? Tom pressed, fear rising inside him. The answers were just out of reach, and the closer they got to the truth, the more his heart pounded against his chest. They're not just looking to collect what he owes. They won't stop at anything to make sure he pays, and that includes you. What? How does this involve us? Michael snapped, crossing his arms defensively. Tom felt the intensity of the situation sweep over them both. Jack tried to protect you, but in doing so, he put you all in the crosshairs. They've made it clear they'll come for whoever stands in their way. Tom felt his stomach drop. So what now? What do we do? First, you need to understand the gravity of the situation. You both need to stay alert, trust no one. But you have to confront your father about this. He's hiding something, and you need to get it out of him. Facing the reality of their father's secrets churned uncomfortably in Tom's gut. He didn't want to believe any of this. What if he's in too deep? What if he refuses to listen? Then you'll have to make him understand. Because if you don't, there will be consequences. You may think your lives are normal, but you're on the precipice of something that could tear your family apart. A silence settled in, thick with fear and uncertainty. Tom's mind raced, slipping into a tailspin. The realization crashed on him like a tidal wave. We need to take this to the police. Not yet, she warned, shaking her head quickly. Those connections run deep. You could make everything worse. Just promise me you'll talk to Jack first. Promise you'll hear him out. Tom exchanged a glance with Michael, both feeling the weight of a decision that could change everything. Okay, Tom finally said, his voice firm yet unsure. We'll talk to Dad. The woman stepped closer, her expression softening for a moment. Just remember, sometimes the truth can hurt more than you expect. You might be shocked by what comes out. As she turned to leave, a sense of urgency washed over Tom. Wait! He shouted. What else do we need to know? She paused, glancing back over her shoulder. Just be ready for anything. The truth is waiting, and it could unravel everything you once believed. With that, she disappeared into the darkness, leaving Tom and Michael at the fountain, drowning in a sea of unanswered questions. Do you think we're ready for this? Michael asked, uncertainty evident in his voice. I don't know, Tom said, breathing out heavily. But we have to be. There's no turning back now. There was no doubt. Their world was about to change forever, and the truth loomed like a storm cloud overhead. What that truth would reveal was still a mystery, but one thing was clear: they were only scratching the surface. Would they be able to handle what awaited them? The park felt eerily quiet as Tom and Michael stood by the fountain, both trying to catch their breath. The cool night air sent chills down Tom's spine, and he could feel the weight of the woman's words pressing heavily on his chest. We should head home, Michael suggested, his voice firmer now, yet still laced with anxiety. We need to talk to Dad soon. Yeah, Tom agreed, wiping the beads of sweat that had formed on his brow despite the chill. The thought of confronting their father sent a shiver through him. But I'm not sure how to approach this. Do we accuse him straight away? Or should we just ask him about the debts? Michael frowned, concern etching deeper into his features. We have to be careful. If there's anyone dangerous out there, I don't want them to know we're onto him. As they walked away from the fountain, the dark trees loomed like watchful sentinels. Tom's mind spiraled in circles, every step they took felt both necessary and terrifying. Do you think he knows we're coming? Michael suddenly asked, glancing back as if expecting someone to leap from the shadows. I don't know, but I can't shake the feeling he does, Tom replied, biting his lip. He's been acting strange lately. I thought it was just stress from work, but now I wonder if it's related to this, whatever this is. At home, the faint glow of their living room light spilled out into the darkness. Tom hesitated at the front door, his heart pounding louder than ever. Okay, here we go, he muttered. They crossed into the warmth of their home, but it felt different now. The cracked family portraits on the walls, once a source of comfort, now felt like reminders of secrets buried beneath a fragile surface. Dad? Michael called, his voice breaking slightly. In here, came the muffled response from the kitchen. The brothers exchanged a look, a silent agreement to stick together. They walked into the kitchen to find Jack, their father, pouring himself a glass of water. He looked up, his weary eyes briefly widening in surprise, then settled into a weary grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. Hey, boys. What's up? Tom swallowed hard. This was it. Dad, can we talk for a second? It's about everything we heard tonight. Jack's demeanor shifted instantly. The light-hearted mood vanished, replaced by a shadow that darkened his features. What do you mean? Michael spoke up, his voice steady. We're worried about you, about what has been going on. We heard some things about debts and people looking for you. We need to know the truth. For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Jack's gaze flickered, loomed, almost as if searching for an escape. I can explain, he finally said, his voice cracking. But you need to promise me that you'll stay calm. Tom felt a wave of unease wash over him. Just tell us, please. We need to know if we're in danger. Then I'll tell you everything, Jack said, taking a deep breath, but you might not like what you hear. His hands trembled slightly as he placed the glass down, the water sloshing inside. Tom and Michael exchanged worried looks, fear coiling tighter in their stomachs. Whatever Jack was about to say would shatter their sense of normalcy. Promise me you'll listen, Jack insisted. They both nodded, the resolve solidifying in their chests. As Jack began to speak, his voice strained with emotion, the truth unfurled like a dark cloud, ready to engulf them. Suddenly, the room felt smaller. Their family history, once a source of strength, was now full of shadows, and every whispered secret became a possible threat. As Jack continued, Tom's heart raced. Would they find answers, or would they be plunged deeper into a world they never wanted to enter? Unknown to them, a faint rustling noise came from the darkness outside the window, something lurking beyond their walls. Dad, what are we about to find out? Tom asked, fear threading through his words. Jack met his gaze, a flicker of regret flashing across his face. You're about to learn that some debts can never be paid. Tom's breath caught in his throat. What had they unwittingly stepped into? Outside, the night held its breath. Tom watched as Jack's face transformed, revealing layers of pain and regret hidden beneath the surface. In that moment, he realized the weight of what was about to unfold. Everything they had known seemed to hinge on the truth lying just out of reach. Boys, Jack began, his voice low and filled with trepidation, this has been my burden for far too long, and it's time you both learn what I've been trying to protect you from. Tom felt the room constrict around them, his heart racing. What do you mean? He asked, urgency burning in his chest. Jack took a deep breath, his gaze drifting towards the kitchen window as if searching for the right words among the shadows. Years ago, when I was struggling to build the business, I got caught up in some bad choices. I made a deal with people who operate in the dark. Money I borrowed to save the shop, thinking it was the only way. But it came with strings attached. The tension in the room tightened. Michael's fists clenched at his sides. What did you do, Dad? He demanded, unable to mask the quaver in his voice. I thought I could handle it. I made payments on time. But when I fell ill when I was in Vietnam, battling not just for my life but everything I sacrificed for you, things spiraled. The interest piled up, and I lost myself. Jack's voice broke, but he pressed on. They came back, their demands. It's dangerous. I've tried to shield you from this. Realization hit Tom like a tidal wave. So this was why you've been acting strange. You said you were stressed. It was far more than that. Jack nodded, shame flooding his features. I didn't want you boys to see me as weak or broken. I thought I could fix it. But I became trapped, and now those depths of my past are threatening to pull you into their shadows. Tom's heart sank. He had spent so much time running away, busy with work and life, while his father battled demons alone. You should have told us. He exclaimed, his voice rising. I know, Jack replied, tears glistening in his eyes. But I was so ashamed. I thought I could protect you both. I didn't want you to have to fight my battles. Silence wrapped around them, heavy. Tom processed everything, each word a brick laying the foundation for emotionally charged feelings of betrayal and compassion. Outside, a shadow flitted past the window. Tom's blood ran cold. They know about us, don't they? He asked, dread curling in his gut. After everything we've learned, are they coming for us now? Jack's features turned grave. Yes, he murmured. They'll come for what I owe. Not just for the money but for the choice I made to protect you from it. Michael sank into a chair, the reality crashing down around them. What do we do? Jack looked at both of them, his voice soaked in horror. If you're with me, we must confront this together. We have to face them and the consequences. There's no avoiding it any longer. Tom's resolve hardened. We're not letting them take you away from us. We're going to fight together. Jack grasped Tom's hand, a surprising strength in his frail grip. You must be careful, son. But if we're going to do this, it starts now. His heart surged with a blend of fear and determination. They were stepping into uncharted waters. Would the bridge they were building withstand the coming storm? As the weight of impending conflict hung in the air, a faint rustle outside the window drew their attention. Tom stiffened, creeping closer to the glass. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, and a figure emerged in the dim light, a tall, looming presence. Every instinct within Tom screamed alert. Dad, he whispered, panic igniting in his chest. We need to move. Cold dread washed over them as the shadowy figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face. It was the woman from the cafe, her expression urgent and fearful. They've found you, she exclaimed, glancing over her shoulder. We don't have much time. Get ready. Tom's heart raced as they all exchanged looks, realization settling over them like a blanket. This family bond, forged through years of silence and misunderstanding, was now their strongest ally. Who are they? Michael barked, the tension palpable. The ones Jack should have feared. They're coming for what they believe is rightfully theirs, family included, and they're not giving up without a fight. Then bring it on, Tom said, adrenaline surging through his veins. We're ready. As night fell around them, each moment stretched into infinity. A legacy of sacrifice had drawn them together, ready to face the shadows that had long threatened to tear them apart. For the first time, they felt the power of unity, the call for family, the light against the encroaching darkness. The path ahead was uncertain, but they were determined to stand their ground. The words "what's next?" hovered unspoken in the air, a testament to the trials ahead. They stood together, ready to confront the tempest about to engulf them. It was time to face the truth and to hold on to one another tighter than ever before. Now, as the dawn of uncertainty broke on the horizon, their resolve hardened. With their family at the heart of the fight, they would not back down. Together, they would forge a future free from the shadows of the past. Do you feel the urgency in this story? You need to subscribe now to make sure you catch our next exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and share this incredible transformation. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how powerful family bonds can be. Your support shapes our community, so stand with us.